Hello everyone, this is Yu Tsai. Thank you for joining me again on another edition of Let's Talk. Today my guest is model, actor, activist, and newly turned author, talking about his stories from the intimate of his heart called My Truth, and we're going to talk all about that today. But before we dive into that conversation, meet my guest, Don Bejamin, and we're going to take you down a little journey of our journey together, and we're going to dive right into his book. Hello Don, welcome to the show.
For having me, man. Always good to talk to you.
Well, it's been a short while. We had a wonderful journey together a few years back. And for those of you guys don't know that Don and I actually met all the way in Bali. Our first time meeting was actually in Bali with the American Next Top Model franchise.
Crazy. I know. It seems like just yesterday, right?
Oh, what a crazy time. And meeting each other again here, we cannot not discuss a little bit of the history of American Next Top Model. I say Asian Next Top Model because I'm thinking about the other show I did. So being on here, we have to talk a little bit about the history of American Next Top Model and our journey together there. I believe you were on cycle 20, correct?
Yep, 20. Yep.
And I was actually asked on just to be the guest photographer for the final photo shoot that you guys were having. And I remember arriving on set in Bali, incredible house that you guys were shooting at. And I met you for the very first time. And I think the first thing came out of my mouth like, why aren't June a finalist?
I know, right?
I got in so much trouble that day on that shoot.
Yo, that was hilarious. I know. Man, I was sick. I thought for sure I was going to make it to the top final.
You know, it's an interesting show for the fans out there. And truly, even being a guest on the show at that time, we know nothing about the stories behind the scenes. We don't get to see any footage from before. In fact, I don't get to learn about the contestants at all. I show a completely blank slate.
They just bring you in, right? And just let you do the work.
Oh my gosh. So when I got on set, I saw the cast. And during that time, we had to shoot everyone because social media was so relentlessly figuring out who is going to be voted off or who's on the show. So they shot every single person to confuse anybody who might have opportunity to leak out the contestants. And I remember you very well because you're so handsome, so beautiful, and those eyes are very captivating, and you had these tattoos on. And to me at that time, you were ahead of your game. Just aesthetically, I don't want to say trend, but there's definitely a look that the industry so desperately needed to embrace. And that's why I said, how come you're not part of finalists? And not because that I have any preconceptual idea which model should be or their history. So there's a lot of drama on that show. And I want to say is that the path that you took was the best path that you could have.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's crazy how we got to actually finally shoot for real afterwards too.
But how was that experience for you on Top Model?
It was different for me because it just felt like so rushed and forced, and the nerves because I wanted to win, so I felt like I couldn't really it was like a lot of mixed emotions, but it was an amazing time. Like, I love Tyra so much. I love being able to work with new people and people that have been in the business for so long. Like, the experience was untouched for sure, but it was definitely stressful. All the young castmates, I was a little older, so they were kind of stressful and irritating, but it was definitely a good time.
Well, it was. I do have to say that for those crazy fans out there, you have lots of them joining and watching today. And doing your season, the season prior was a very special season because there was a new technology happening at the time that you had to do your photo shoot in a very different way. It was a digital shoot. Mm-hmm. You had to shoot in a way that the picture would actually come to life. And I think, and I'll say this now since the show's been over, I think you guys really had a little disadvantage as models to figure out how to work with that technology. Yeah. And I remember that, and I remember this really well because it really touched my heart. I remember showing up on set. I learned the technology because I knew about it. I came from a special effects background. And I directed each one of you guys in a way how that would have been and should have been, I guess, that nobody actually helped you guys. I remember I was stormed by all the models while we had a break, like, where were you before? Why weren't you here?
We were not getting that. We weren't getting it. you definitely gave us the good direction. I was like, yo, we needed this all season.
Well, reason I mentioned that because of you guys champion for the fact that I was there and gave the direction. I was invited back the following 2 seasons as a creative director. So I'm here thanking you guys for protesting that I should be part of the franchise. And me
For real.
too, that I absolutely love what Tyra has done over the industry. And we all know Top Model is a glorification of what a model industry really is like. And part of it, yes, it is entertainment. Well, I say most of it. We'll say most of it.
Right.
But what that did for you is that it actually made you an entertainer. Tyra then gave you opportunity to DJ on an episode that I was shooting. And so that was incredible. So it does pave roads for you. So with all these amazing things that's happening for you, and I say this really, really truly from my heart because after the Top Model journey finished for you, I continued to shoot for the brand I've been shooting for about 10 years. And you came across my desk as one of the models considered to be photographed, and I jumped on it. And I think it's important to talk about that because there is a stigma about top models.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you went through it. So let's talk about that a little bit. When you finished Top Model, when you were talking to agencies out there to represent you, how many people resisted working with you because you were part of a reality franchise?
Well, it was funny because for me, I kind of already had spoke to some people and they were like, be careful about dropping the Top Model like tag when you're trying to get signed to an agency because some of them are kind of thrown off by it. I approached the agencies using my social media following more so than the Top Model. So I kind of went in and I was like, yeah, I just came off a Top Model, but I already had 100,000 plus followers before then. And so I kind of like used both of them to mesh to kind of get the agencies excited. And then when I said Tyra was super excited about my tattoos, it kind of like gave them like oh yeah, we do like the tattoos. So I kind of like being in the industry for a while. I kind of understood how to like approach the situation and
you were
use.
educating them. You were paving the road for them, so they didn't feel like, oh, are we taking a chance on you? In fact, you were taking a chance on them, and I think that's incredibly smart. And for those of you guys, 100,000 followers back in the days was like 1 million followers, just to put everything in context. And because at that time, we got to give credit for Top Model as well. It's the first show that included social media as part of the conversation when they were choosing the contestants for every episode who will be signed up. They had people sign in on social media being part of the judging panel. So that gave you an incredible platform. And I have to say, for any kind of reality shows out there for people who are thinking about tapping into Hollywood, which you talked about in this book as well, that know your place and what you can do and how you want to carve out your path. It's very different. I myself been on enough reality shows to tell you that I understand and know how important it is knowing who you want to be, how you want to portray. They can't make you who you are unless you put it in front of them. They can try. They sure can.
Yeah, and I got a couple times, and then I had to like catch myself and bring myself down. But yeah, they will definitely try it.
Well, enough of that journey with Top Model. I always do tap on a little bit just because I'm one of the people who do feel like the franchise has really helped me personally too, to build my career after Top Model 2 years in the US. I went off to do Top Model Asia, Top Model China, Top Model everywhere.
Amazing.
So, and I still work with Heidi Klum on Top Model Germany. So the franchise is well alive and very, very, very important in our life because it does pave a lot of roads and conversation.
Sure.
And I do have to say, we've been fortunate enough that we're in a generation where saying that I was part of the franchise no longer has stigma. It actually celebrates and know that we are part of the diversity that Tyra Banks had brought to television, and we give her credit for that. And she celebrated diversity without having to scream about diversity because she herself represents that. And so I want to give her a little nod for how beautiful that her action is. So years later, I think 2 or 3 years later, we got to photograph together. We got to shoot together for Campaign for Guests.
Yep.
And
I was like, finally, I get to like really shoot and not be nervous about it and be excited. I was like, finally, I get to come in with some real emotions. It was dope, and I loved it. It was like right up my alley. It was sick. I loved it.
And just for the record, I don't think I was screaming at you, right?
Nah, and that's the thing too about like Top Model is like when we left off, we were expecting every photographer to like be down our throat and be like the meanest person in the world. And then like you come to reality of working and it's like, yo, he's super cool. Like I don't hate this person, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that was the beautiful reality of it once we got to work and it's like, yo, he's super cool. They try to make you seem like such a villain.
Well, just spill the tea a little bit. For any reality show, any competition show, there is a rule in the industry, and I'm going to expose that now. That for every bad comment and every bad screaming, there's equal amount of hug and love giving to that contestant. However, makes it through the editing is
Right.
what you guys get to see. And I was the villain on the show. I was
Right.
I
For
fought
real.
with Johnny Wujek, which it was appeared to be so real. They even shut down production. And I looked at them going, I thought we're supposed to be this is the bad side of me. Now I'm gonna flip it to the good side of me. So
For real. People are probably scared to approach you after the show, like, he's gonna chew my head off.
But you know what? Being memorable is the most important thing, and I would not ever have gotten invited to on that show without it. And same thing with the career in fashion. I think it's so important to be memorable as a model. You walk on set with tattoos, and that's really important for me to discuss because inclusion doesn't just mean weight, body size, height, and age. Inclusion means anything that's representing the human being. And I remember the conversation about you having a tattoo. It was so farce to me that somebody would judge who you are based on the preconceptual idea of what those tattoos meant,
Right.
rather than celebrate an art form, right? So
Right.
I'm so happy that your agency embraced that, and we celebrated that with our shoe. I was like, you better show me every single tattoo you got.
Right. I know, for sure. I mean, it was lucky. It's all about, I feel like everything is just timing, you know, like as I move forward in my career, in my life, I realized that things are about timing. So I may want it to happen right now, but it's not meant to happen then. Like I wanted my tattoos to be an impact on the industry, but when I wanted it, it wasn't time. And then it took Top Model. It took me kind of gaining more insight on the industry and learning more about myself. And then the tattoos became a hot commodity, and then it was able to be highlighted into the work. So for sure, it's all about timing, man. I'm blessed to just have an understanding for that and not like get down on myself and give up, you know?
Well, for the last 3 months, I've been following you on Instagram. Every time you go live, I've been listening to you. And one of the main reason I invited you on this show is that I saw how vulnerable you have become the last 3 months. You have gone through relationships, and you have very openly talked about those relationships. And there were times of frustration of trying to share information with your viewers and fan base, but then for them to be educated the process that you're going through. And I saw that in your post. And without knowing, all that frustration turned into this beautiful book that you put together. So I want to dive into that conversation. In the culture of people of color, and I include myself because I'm brown, Asian,
Mm-hmm.
that mental health and
Yeah.
struggles are often considered a shame.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about it. We don't hang our dirty laundry out for people to see, and we hide that. And because we hide that, we oppress ourselves, and the
Yep.
mental health really becomes a major issue. So with this book, and I read every single page and every single word, and I will have to say, guys out there, pick it up because it's so raw and it's so real, and to me, it's really diving into your diary. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a novel. It is
Yeah.
not some made up, painted with words that you have to look up in a dictionary and trying to dive into your brain what you were thinking with metaphors or whatnot. It is true, clear words from your heart
Mm-hmm.
to the page. So let's talk about some of those moments. One of the moments that really, really touched me is that I felt this entire book is such a healing process for you.
Yeah.
It was for you to be able to be let me back up a little. When we post something about how we feel on Instagram, we expose ourselves for people to attack us at any direction, and they don't know where you are at that moment. I thought this book was so poignant because you get to say everything at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
from beginning to end, and then you'd be able to say, okay, now judge me. Now you know me. So let's talk about when was that moment you said, you get to know my truth, and I'm going to write this book?
Well, it's crazy because I wanted to write a book, but I never really knew where I wanted to take it. And the top of this year, when I had my breakup, it was a pretty public breakup because all of our fans were so invested into our relationship. But I didn't want to just come out and tell people like what happened or, you know, put a video out. Like I wanted to tie everything into my life story, and I wanted to go do the work first. So I was like, I could just put a video on Instagram or YouTube talking about it, but I wanted to go do the work on myself as a man, rather than just kind of maneuver how I always maneuver. So for me, it was like I talked to my life coach, I talked to my pastor, and I told them like I really want to like get to the root of what I've been dealing with my entire life and understand it. And I know there's a million men out there and women that could use this information. And I was like, maybe I could put it into a book. And then in the midst of me putting this information into the book, I could, of course, talk about my relationship and what happened, since it was such a large piece of not only my life, since I was about to get married this year, but a large piece of my followers' lives, because they've been so invested in our relationship the past 5 years. So I wanted to make sure, like you said, I wanted to write it all out. I didn't want to put it out on a video and let people judge me. I wanted to write my entire story in a book and let people say whatever they have to say, but hopefully be able to use a lot of this information to step back and look at their self, or to, pass it along to a friend that's been dealing with similar issues, and for them to step back and look at themselves. So honestly, I didn't know how I was going to write it, but I'm glad that you mentioned like it's like a diary, because the words literally, like, God just put the words in my heart and it just flowed. Like I just got to writing, and then I got a couple editors to help me kind of like figure out how to place the paragraphs the right way, because it looked like a journal. It was just top to bottom. I didn't know where to separate the paragraphs and whatnot. So, but all the writing, yeah, it was from my heart. It was all me from the heart. And I'm blessed, man, that you felt that, and that a lot of people are like responding very well and connecting with the words, because that was a purpose. It wasn't so much for me. Like, it was a therapy. It was release for me. It was therapy to do it and to get it off my chest. But it was really to help other people in the world, because I know so many people go through mental issues. They go through life crises. They go through struggles with temptation, or struggles with their household, trying to understand why they were abandoned by their parents. And, so it's deep. So this was really for everybody else to kind of like be awoke and look at themselves and reevaluate their lives.
And especially for the generation we have now, that we, right or wrong, we do look to those likes and unlikes and followers and non-followers. You can sit there and say you don't care about them, doesn't affect you, but it does. That's why they're there. And I hope the day that we don't have likes anymore, we don't know how many people look, you just share, will be the day I would love for a platform to be able to be there, because it has caused a lot of issues for a lot of people. And I want to touch on this, is that when you're a public figure, and I learned that within the recent years when I started hitting the higher numbers, that what you put out there is really share in a way, and people truly invest in your journey. And if you're wanting to put it out there, you have to be okay to say, I'm a public figure and I need to keep myself accountable what I put out there. And if it's wrong, you have to face it and apologize. And if it's right, you gotta put people on the right path. And I saw that in your frustration. You were on your way to trying to correct the things that you want people to know. You did certain things, you didn't do it right, but you could, this is why. But people don't listen, they swipe. They look at that image and they swipe. And that I could see from the frustration, from the words that you use. And one of the most important thing too, is that you talked about talking to your pastor, talking to your life coach. Guys, those are the resources that you need, not who liked you on your Instagram pictures or videos. And I think you said that in your book so well, that you open up and let people know, here's a successful model, successful actor who's working and at top of his game. You're not somebody who's like disappeared for 5 years, come back with a book and say, I'm trying to sell a book so I can be relevant. You're taking this moment to say, I am here, and I want you guys to know how I got here and how I want to stay here. And I'm going to need your help to do that. And that's what's really incredible. If when the community, when your comrades around you, your agents, and all those followers are actually champion behind you, it does help to get up in the morning and be able to breathe
For sure.
a little bit smoother, because
For sure.
Because I can feel from your writing, there was a lot of anxiety even through your writing.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's for men, I feel like it's hard for us to fully be vulnerable and put ourselves out there, because we have this stigma to us, or we have this thing where we're supposed to be strong and we're supposed to carry ourselves a certain way. And then growing up as a child in the inner city with a bunch of like wild friends, you know, that are all about the single life and partying and having multiple girls. When you want to be with one girl and you want to be vulnerable and talk about the situation, like we almost are scared to do it. So when you come out and just lay it all on the line, it's like it's a new thing, you know, it's a new thing. And so there was that.
Especially
Yeah.
in your culture, in the culture of the
For
Black
sure.
community, it is
Yeah.
all about your entourage, and they influence you like crazy, right?
For sure.
They're like, what are you doing? And I won't get into the detail of this, guys, but the book really is so raw that it talks about the moment you lost your virginity and how that actually affected you later on. And for those you guys, pick up the book and read it. I am not going to be talking about it in detail, but offline we can share. I can say this for those who read it, but you understand. I lost my virginity the same way.
Oh,
So
really?
when I read the book and I went, oh my God.
That's
Oh my
crazy.
God. It was the exact same way, but it was to discover whether I was gay or not.
Right. Okay.
It was a pointer, like figure this out. So you guys, without going into graphic detail, I'm gonna leave that open for you guys to pick up the book to read. And along the way, you kind of in a way to meet your father all over again. That was very incredible. Share that a little bit with us about your relationship with your dad and what your relationship now after, metaphysically, after you've written these words.
Yeah. I mean, my entire childhood, I think it was like me searching for his attention, me searching for his approval because he wasn't around and I didn't understand the addiction that had overtaken him. I didn't really understand addiction. All I thought was he doesn't want to be with me or he doesn't want to be around me or what am I doing? It was all about me trying to please him. And if there would be certain things that would draw his attention to me, where if it's like, what girls are you getting? Or, you know, how's basketball, like certain things, I would amplify those things. And those were my attention because that's what I thought he wanted. And since I was seeking his attention, I would just go crazy to make sure I was doing well in those categories. And it was a super unhealthy pattern that I didn't even realize I was creating for my life. But as I got older, you know, and I moved away and I started becoming successful, I was able to sit down with him and let him know how I felt my entire life. And I was able to he was able to apologize to me and I was able to forgive him. And we were able to regrow like a bond. Unfortunately, he still dealt with addiction until the day he passed away from an overdose, but he knows that I forgave him. He forgave himself. He just couldn't overcome his addiction. And I was supposed to be moving him to LA actually, like just a couple months after he had passed. Like that was a plan. And so it was a lot. It was very hard, but I felt like getting this book out and writing, and there's the letter to my dad where I write a full like letter to him, letting him know I forgive him. Just putting that energy out in the universe, you know what I'm saying? Knowing that the energy reached him and I know that he got that message, even to reassure the spirit and to let our spirits be at ease was an amazing feeling. You know, that's why I said this book was almost like therapy for me because I got to do a letter to my father in it. I got to do a letter to Leanne in the book, kind of letting her know I'm sorry for what happened. A letter to my boys is letting them know that I'm on a new journey right now. And if you guys are going to be joining me in this journey, we have to start maneuvering different and hold ourselves accountable in new situations. So the book was really therapy for myself, man, to just really move in this new direction and get things off my chest and just release myself in a way.
But it is so transparent. You held nothing back, and even your faith with God, your journey with God, the time that you're angry with God, the time that you celebrate God. At the end, you write a thank you letter to God, knowing that He's there for you. It healed my heart and broke my heart at the same time because and I said that because so many of us go through different faith at different time, and whether God, Buddha, Hindu, whatever religion, whatever that's hold to your core, we get angry. We look outside our window right now and go, where is God, right? How many of us are going through this time asking that same question, where is where is that force that's going to help all of us? But at the end of the day, you got to look into your own self journey first, right? Your own personal relationship. That's what we always talk about. Your journey with God is your personal relationship. And then one individually that you grow from that, then you can affect the community around you. I think it's so incredible brave. It's so brave for you to be able to share that with people, especially that is something people guarded really closely to them. They don't want people to know they have fallen off the path of their journey religiously, or even whether the past, to be able to admit that my childhood is a product of who I am and I have the power to make those change. I promise you, I can say these words because when I read your words, I understand it. I comprehend it. I have sympathy and empathy because I went through different journey than you, but we all go through it. And I don't think people alike don't talk about it enough. So when you begin to feel isolated, and Don, I didn't know this about you, right? I just thought, here's a hot model, cool eyes, amazing tattoo. He has the best life. He's cool. He's going to all the cool clubs, and then you read about it, going, well, that was not where you're most comfortable and where you want to be. So this journey, this chapter, I feel like this is only the first book. I feel like this is just the beginning of your journey, and you again taking us on the ride with you. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely the first book. It's definitely the beginning to an exciting chapter, man. I love where I'm at. Like, I've never felt this like clear and good and positive. So it's exciting. It's definitely it's an exciting direction. You know, it's unfortunate that a lot of people through the times we're in right now, it's like, which way are you going? You know, through this quarantine and through the craziness that's going on in the world. Like, a lot of people are going deeper into depression and anxiety and stress, and some people are finding themselves more, and they're on this new life path. And I really just have been trying to encourage people to try to tap into the better side of yourself right now, and come out of this stronger. Don't come out of it worse. Like, don't come out more depressed and more stressed and more anxious. Like, sit down, figure out how you can transform yourself right now. Because like you said, whatever God you believe in, like, this universe was created by something more powerful than us. And so I tell people, like, you got to tap into whatever you believe in, right? And all this is happening for a reason. So, you know, there's a lot of people that are naive and they feel like things just happen and like there's no real purpose behind it, but there's purpose behind everything. So I'm thankful that I've been able to use this time to grow and to take myself on a new journey rather than to go backwards. And I just try to carry as many people up as possible.
And I know that many have read this book. What has been the reaction from your boys, as you would call them?
It's crazy because a lot of my boys that I was honestly kind of, you know, you're always scared to approach them with your vulnerability and the realness, but they received it well. And they've been like, man, I need to hold myself more accountable. You know, I have some things that I need to work on within myself. And, you know, you realize that everybody's kind of been going through these same inner battles in different ways. And everybody's kind of just waiting on the other person to kind of speak out. And so luckily I was the one to be able to speak out. And now they're kind of all like taking a step back and thinking about moves that they can make differently and stuff. So yeah, the response is amazing from everybody.
Well, with these notions out there, with these messages out there, it puts you in a place of activism as well for mental health and for pure truth. And the book is called My Truth because it truly is your journey, and that journey takes all of us with you. So what's next? What's next now that you have now able to relinquish some of these feelings that's been in you for so long? What's the next journey for you that you can see?
I'm just trying to be as creative as possible. And I'm really just at a point to where it's like, if something is creative and it gets my engine roaring, I'm going to like take step and go do it. So I'm just in a really good place. I'm like, not like I'm working on another book right now to actually help people with modeling. I get a lot of people asking me about how to break into the modeling industry. So working on a book and a master class to help people with that, and working on some clothing lines, and just creative. If something comes to my mind and it's creative and it's about bettering myself and helping other people, that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I think you're going to gather a whole new fan base and a community of people, because being vulnerable and showing people that no, not living the best life the way you think it is by scrubbing through the internet and just but you're putting everything out there. and in transparency, I think more of us will relate to you and more of us can grow with you. And I'm so glad to learn this part of you because it actually makes me want to celebrate you even more. Not just because you're beautiful on the outside that I too have photographed, but incredibly beautiful and vulnerable on the inside. And I said that because I know how difficult it is culturally. I know how difficult it is culturally. May not be for other, but I know for my culture personally too, that we just don't talk about these things because they don't exist, right?
Yep.
And we begin to see that mental health does affect all colors on the rainbow. We all go through it, and we always need to find that life coach, the pastor, your best friend, whoever that may be, to continue to talk. And it's relevant, and because for me, Let's Talk, the show here is my therapy, right? It is my path to your path. And without this path, I wouldn't be able to connect with you as a human being. And I want to offer to you that anything I can do to help you on your way or journey to the next book, any advices that you may need in helping in the modeling, advices, world master classes, you have me.
For sure.
I am part of your family, and I will be there for you. And you don't need much help right now, but along the way, if you need
all the help I can get, man.
I am there for you. And absolutely congratulations to be able to go through the relationship that you have go through and coming out stronger. And that's a whole new chapter in your new book, because I know in between those lines there are more stories to be told. There's definitely more stories to be told. And by the way, what's beautiful about this book, guys out there, that you just joined us on Don's book, is beautiful because at the end of every chapter there is a bit of a worksheet, and for you to kind of reflect and fill in. And because with his book, you can begin your own journey, your own book. And I really, truly, I love that, because it truly shows that you're working in progress, and we all are.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely wanted that. I wanted people to be able to reflect on themselves and come away from this learning something new about themselves as well. So, yeah, for sure, man. Thank you.
Well, the next chapter, I hope you have a letter to yourself. When I finish reading your book, there were a letter to your dad, there were a letter to God, and there were a letter to your boys. I wait for the chapter that you write a letter to yourself, because that's a chapter I know that we truly will celebrate with you, and it's coming.
Thank you. It's coming. That's the most powerful chapter.
That's going to be the most powerful chapter. Well, thank you so much for making time with me here today, and I'm so glad and so happy to be able to celebrate your book with you. Guys, you can get this on Amazon, and please do go online and get it on Amazon, and do your workbook with him, and DM him and share your story with him, because that's what we need to do at this time. You have no better time out there to do anything anyway. You're not going to the beaches. You read this book.
For real, read the book.
Read the book. Well, thank you for your tenderness, and thank you for sharing your truth with all of us, and thank you for being part of Let's Talk. And I will see you soon. And perhaps next time, you'll be in front of my lens, and I'll be behind that camera. We can capture some beautiful image together again.
For sure, my brother. We will connect soon.
All right, guys. That was Don Bejamin. Make sure you pick up his book, My Truth. It's a wonderful read from beginning to end. It's a fast read because it truly reads like a journal and really takes you through the journey of his emotional journey, his relationship with his parents, and also his girlfriend and his boys around him. And a lot of similarity and parallels out there that we all can relate. And for somebody wanting to put themselves on the line in that vulnerability, deserves the time for us to give it a review and read. And I got to read from page to page, and I have to say I'm so incredibly proud of him, able to share that part of him to his fan base, as well as anyone who wish to learn and grow, and perhaps just read those words and be able to do the workbook with him and grow from that. All right, thank you guys so much for the entire week of being here with me. I am so proud to have you here, and I'm so honored to have you here. I will be back next week, and we'll keep talking. Thank you for joining me here on Let's Talk.